What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from Prince George's County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a longtime assistant coach, a future head coach in the business in my eyes. He's done a terrific job wherever he's been. And he's a native of High Point, North Carolina, so he didn't play too far away from home when he was in college. Justin Gainey. Now, Justin is a former standout player, standout point guard at NC State. As I talked about, he was close to home, so he had a chance to play in the ACC. For Herb Sendak, and once he was done playing, he had a chance to play professionally for 3 years. Two, he was across the water, and in 1 year he was back in the States playing as well. And then from there, he got into athletic administration, back in his alma mater at NC State, and had a chance to obtain a master's degree while he was there. So not only undergraduate, but a master's degree from NC State. And then Sidney Lowe gets the job. He gets into college coaching, and now he's there with Sidney for 3 years from 06 to 09, and then he goes on to Elon for a year with Matt Matheny for the 09-10 season before going to Appalachian State with Jason Capel, and those guys were there for 4 years, and he's there for 4 years, and he gets a chance to go to Marquette, where he's actually back at Marquette again, but for the 14-17 season, he spends 3 years there at Marquette. And then he goes to work with Herb Sendak, his former coach at Santa Clara. So he goes to the West Coast for a year at Santa Clara. And then he gets a chance to work at Arizona, from the 18 to the 20 season. And now he's back at Marquette as the associate head coach. And, it's just a remarkable story for him. But like you said, he couldn't turn down having an opportunity to work with Sean Miller at Arizona when he left Santa Clara. I know it's probably hard him leaving his former coach, but he did. And now, like I said, he's back in Marquette for the upcoming season 2021 as the associate head coach. And I don't want to welcome to the show Justin Gainey, who I've watched from afar for a long time when he first got into his business. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Excited to be on the show, and I think the world of you. And I remember when I first got into the business, just seeing how you operated, seeing how you did your business, and how detailed you were with everything. You were a guy that I looked up to, and I saw on the road, and I know there was a couple events, and you might not remember, but I try to pick your brain on that. That DC recruiting a little bit, trying to get in there and figure that whole deal out. So I'm excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to it.
Well, man, thank you, and thanks for those great words, man. I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I've always seen you I watch you as a player, which is interesting, and then now to see where you are, I'm so proud and happy for you on that. But look, man, we all know that, let's get right to it, man. We'll get unmasked. We all know that there's no handbook to being a college coach. You played at the highest level. But now you get into college coaching, and tell me about like your first day, the first week, first month after things are done with human resources and orientation. And it could be at NC State, or it could be when you went to Elon or App State, either one of those places, especially no one gives you direction. It's just happened. No one gives you direction in this business. But talk about that, when you first leave human resources.
Yeah, when I got my first job, when I'm on the road, first full-time assistant job, the first thing is your phone starts going crazy. And, everybody, this was before the Twitter age. It was more Facebook, but it was before the Twitter age. So everybody's hitting your phone, congratulating you, but then you got probably other 60%, hey, what are they gonna do with your spot at the old spot, trying to kind of work that angle or whatever. So it's a crazy time because you don't want to miss anybody. You don't want that tag. Oh man, he different now. He trying to get different or whatever. So you know, that's one part of it. But you know, for me, it was crazy because I interviewed for the job at the Final Four, got offered a job at the Final Four, waited till I got home, talked to my wife before we made the decision to do it. And I think I went to work on a Monday, and then on that Tuesday, we left at 7 a.m. from Elon, North Carolina, drove down to Atlanta. I drove the whole way. We go and watch it. One kid work out. Wasn't good enough. We get back in the car, drive back to Elon, and then I'm still living in Raleigh at the time. So I have to drive from Atlanta to Elon, and then from Elon back to Raleigh because I just gotten a job. We hadn't moved. So, I mean, you talk about, I left at 7 that morning. Well, I had to leave at 6 o'clock that morning to get to Elon. And then I probably didn't get back home till after midnight. I mean, it was unbelievable. But that in a nutshell is what college recruiting is, man. You know, you have no idea what to expect on a daily basis. You don't know what's going to happen when you walk into that gym. And now it's a little better because, video and all that stuff is better, but still you have no idea until you lay eyes on that kid, on that prospect. And it was a great introduction to the business.
Well, you know what? Speaking of recruiting, and it might be part of this. Because we all know recruiting is the lifeline of college athletics. Good players, good people. Talk about, and it may be part of it, your best and worst recruiting story since you've been in the business.
Yeah, I would say that was a tough story. Another one I had was, I'm recruiting a kid, and, again, it was early on in my career. You want to believe everything the kid is telling you, and he wasn't holding up his end of the bargain academically, but telling me something different. So I'm backing him, and I'm going to the school, and I'm like, hey, this and this is happening. And they're like, no, he's not doing what he's supposed to do or whatever. And it didn't hit home until he lied to me about why he didn't go to class. It was because he went on a trip for prom with somebody flew him out for prom or whatever. It was just a crazy story. And it was at that point I was like, you can't believe everything that you told. Everybody doesn't have it isn't going to be a straight shooter. And so it was tough because I had a lot of fences to mend within the school, and on the other side, like, you know what, you were right. And they said, hey, the kid is a believable kid, so it was no hard feelings. But, and then I would say a good recruiting story was, in year one, just kind of getting my feet wet. And you know how it is, we all want to cut our teeth through recruiting. That's where you feel like you earn a lot of stripes, especially early on. And, really the first kid that I really locked in on, I thought, we hit it out the park with his recruitment, touching his entire circle, just recruited him the right way. The official visit was unbelievable. The weather was great. The kid liked to fish. We had a pond on campus. We hooked up some fishing rods. We had the lakes stocked with some fish. He caught something. Like, it was one of those great deals. And then the kid ended up having a great career, all-time leading rebounder in school history, over 1,000-point score. Kind of helped bridge that gap and get that program going a little bit. So that was one of the great ones. And it was, it was one of those kids where you spent a lot of time just driving back and forth to the school and to the workouts and seeing his people and all of that stuff. So that was one of that was a good one.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. We all know this too, man. And in this business, it's a lot of hours that you put in, a lot of days to add up. So I ask this because now, you're married, you got a family, but, what did you have to give up or or sacrifice, man, achieving your current level of success?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, without question, is the time with family, because this job is so time involved. Even when you're not in the office, you always got your phone on you. You're always on the phone, texting. You got calls coming in. I mean, it's so involved. And not only is it recruiting, but it's your current players, it's your staff. It's just so involved. It's around the clock. And, unless you have a significant other, and in my case, my wife, that really gets it and that understands it, and she makes it work. Without that, I don't think I could get it done. You couldn't do it. But you think about it, how I moved. My oldest son went to 3 high schools in 3 years, and that's really tough. That's really tough. And without her kind of explaining it to him and letting him know it was going to be all right, it would have been a difficult transition. And I always tell them, man, you're tough. You're tough as it gets. I mean, you had to deal with that. Now you got this pandemic. Now all of that stuff going on, but for sure it's the family time, and that you sacrifice. Christmas, Thanksgivings. Sometimes those can be away from family. Definitely with the recruiting trips, you plan your vacations around Peach Jam and July evaluation period. So definitely that family time, without a doubt.
So true, man. And then we know this, man, scout reports. That's you gotta, you invest a lot of time in that.
Yeah.
You a lot of times, I mean, if you watch the game on TV or you were live, you're probably gonna figure out who scouted is. And you're always wondering why that one coach is jumping up more than other guys that assistant, because they have no idea. And some people probably don't even figure out it's his scout. And, so you put in a lot of time and you expect the kids, like you try to give them as much information as possible without overloading, because it is a lot of information. There's a lot of things, you don't want them to be, their brains fried going into the game or overthinking. But then and then it's times that, you done did a great scout, but you might have that one guy who's 2 for his last 30, and all of a sudden he wants to make 3 or 4 threes against you, and you done told the players like, he's struggling shooting. You didn't say he couldn't shoot, but in their minds they think he can't shoot because he hasn't made it. Those guys sneak and look at stats themselves, but and then a coach is looking at you when that guy has made 3 or 4, saying, "I thought he couldn't shoot." No, coach, I didn't say that. I said he's struggling. Talk about your best or worst scouting report that you've had over your years.
Yeah, so I would say my worst scouting report, again, I was early in my career, and, switching jobs, working for different people, different guys like it different ways, and so early on in my career, how I'd seen them done, not necessarily how I played. I mean, it was almost overload, and then when I first got into the business working for Sydney, it was more of the, it was the NBA style. So it was more concepts and it wasn't, it was just different, it was different. And so I just remember my first one, and it was a league game, and I thought I did a great job. I watched a lot of games and I had the personnel down to a T. I thought I had the actions down to a T. But, I would say the thing I learned in year one was you got to pay as much attention to how they defend as their offense, and so early on, I spent all my time trying to figure out what they ran, what they did, where they're going, what they ran at the end of the game. And then I didn't really study as much how they're going to guard us, how are we going to attack them. And so we get in the game and they mix it up on us and they start switching everything. And I hadn't really prepared us for how we're going to attack the switch. And it was, our offense was such that, it really disrupted us. And was that the reason we won or lost the game? I don't know. But me as a competitor and me as a guy, a coach that wanted to be the best that I possibly could be, I felt like I let my group down. I felt like I let them down. And I walked away from that saying, it'll never happen again. And I'll be equally as paired for both sides of the ball. And make sure when we do cover it in Scout Report that we're talking about both sides and not just how we're going to prepare for them and their attack on us. And then I would say, my best scouting report came when, again, you watch all these games, you watch all this stuff, and sometimes they'll switch stuff up on you, and they'll throw in a couple wrinkles here, and your boss looking at you like, yo, what was that? And he's like, hey, that's new play, coach, new play, right? But the team that we were playing had a big run going into halftime. And then we start the second half and like, hey, we got to get off to a great start. And this team wasn't consistent on what they ran coming out of timeout. So, I'm looking, and I get a beat on the formation as they're taking it out. And I yelled to our guys, whatever I called it, and shoot around. And so they knew what was coming. Guy jumps the screen, they throw it over the top for a lob, and we're right where we're supposed to be. And the ball goes out of bounds. Turnover to start the half, we go down and score. And, it's no greater feeling than your staff patting you on the back, your head coach pointing at you like, great job. The rest of the team like, way to go. That right there kind of, it gets you going, man. You feel like you feel like a player again.
So true. That is so true. I'm thinking about that because, I tell you what, and the players know when it's guys scout, and they want it's almost like they play harder for you sometimes because they like, yo, I can't let coach down. So you do love it when the players feel that way.
No doubt, man. They know how many you done won, how many you done lost. Coach, we got to get you a win, man. We let you down last time, man. We got you this time. We got you. And it motivates you. It motivates them. It's a great feeling, man. You feel like one of them.
You're so right on that, man. You're so right on that. Biggest challenge, man, you think you've experienced since you've been a college coach?
Yeah, Lamar, the thing I would say is that the biggest challenge is what we're facing right now. It's no playbook on everything that's going on in this current environment. I mean, you talk about this pandemic, which is, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the effects of it. And then, the leadership that we have at the very top. And I don't want to get into politics or whatever, but, it could be better. It could be better. And then you mix in what happened up in Minneapolis with George Floyd, what happened at the park in New York with the young lady accusing the guy who was bird watching, gets on the phone and makes that call like he's threatening me and stuff. Like, all of this stuff is going on. And then, you're reporting back to your student athletes, black and white, and they're looking at you like, coach, what do we do? And there's no playbook for this. There's no amount of counseling or we're not certified counselors as it is, but we serve as that sometimes for these guys on a quick call, and now we can recommend them to, different people, and we have people within our program, but like right away, you're the first call that they make a lot of times, even sometimes before their parents. And it's like, coach, like what's going on? How do we handle this stuff? How do we express ourselves on social media? So, dealing with everything that's going on now has been the biggest challenge for me. And I'm thankful, our head coach, Coach Wojo, has been great with it. He's allowed not only the staff, but the players to express themselves. And, he's been forefront about how he feels about the George Floyd situation and systemic oppressions and all of that good stuff. And so, it's that I would say what we're dealing with now is the toughest part, because look, a lot of us right now, some of us got our kids back on campus. There's a lot of us that their kids are at home and they're not with us in a time where, we're used to working out. We're used to being in the gym. And not only is that healthy and it gets you ready for the season, but it's therapeutic for them a little bit too. And I think in the state they're in now, it's just like they don't really know what to do with themselves. That they don't, what's getting back to normal. What does that look like? What does that feel like?
You're 100% right. And the one thing talked about, and I've been on different Zooms and things like that, is you're gonna have to have counseling for these kids when they come back. I mean, it's tough. This is not easy. And guys are having team Zooms and things of that nature, but there's gonna be some guys that's gonna need some additional help when they get back on campus.
They're gonna need professional help, and it's gonna be, I don't know if it's like voluntary. I think at the beginning it's got to be, we're all here, everybody, boom, and then from there we can have breakout meetings where, hey, you feel comfortable enough to, hey, coach, I want an individual meeting, but I think at least, a couple, 2 to 3, where it's a big group and we all talk about it. And it's like, look, it's okay if you need additional help. That's what we're here for. We want to provide that. But you know how it is. Sometimes guys feel like that they'll be looked at differently, or people will criticize them if they go get some additional counseling. And, I'm of the thought we all need it. We all need it after going through.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%, Justin.
Sign me up.
Do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand?
There's, a few things. I would say the big thing for me, and I've tried to, throughout my career, try to prove it wrong, is just the stigma that a former player gets. A lot of times, people think we get into the business just because there's nothing else we can do. That we have a silver spoon in our mouth because, hey, we played, so we automatically get pushed to the front of the line. We don't know X's and O's. We don't, only thing we're probably good at is recruiting and relating with guys, or player development and all of that good stuff. And so, the thing I've tried to do throughout my career was prove people wrong in that regard. And I know all former players, to an extent, probably have to deal with that, and so, for me, I've tried throughout my career to show that I'm well-rounded. I can do everything. I can do my own scouts. I can player develop. I can recruit. I can talk to the AD. Look, I've worked in every part of the athletic department, every single part, and so I'm able to go over and have conversations with the academic advisor. I'm able to have conversations with our facilities guys, our business office, our donor side. And so I think that experience helped kind of round me out, and I'm able to lean back on those experiences. But that's the one thing for me that I've tried to, whether it's a right or wrong stereotype, it is a stereotype. I think of a lot of, former players and any guys I come in contact with that have played, whether it's high school or college. Don't let them pigeonhole you. Don't let them box you in, man. You got to be well-rounded, be able to do everything.
So true. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
It's really hard for me to find like a worse memory, because I learn from everything. And at the end of the day, for me, it's about the kids. So even through the recruiting process, like the first thing I'll tell these guys, like, look, man, the minute I don't feel like this is a good fit for you, or you are a good fit for us, I'm gonna let you know. But I expect you to do the same for me. And don't waste my time. Don't feel like, hey, we ain't boys no more because you don't think you can go to the school I'm at. No, that's fine. I'm all about you. I want to see you succeed. And so if that means you go to school XYZ, if that's what you feel is the best fit, man, I'm happy for you. Go kill it. We can still keep in touch. We can still text. We can still talk. It is what it is, because I try to build my relationships organically and genuinely. And, it may start off because, man, I think you're a good player. But like, if you're a good player and you're not a good person, I'll stop recruiting. I'll stop recruiting, because I learned early on that, if you have bad kids, bad people in your program, there's no way you can't be successful. And so a lot of guys that I didn't get, or that went somewhere else, I'm still cool with to this day, and they'll reach back and they'll hit me, and they'll hit me up and just check in on me and all that good stuff. So for me, I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. And so, and then as far as things that like make me feel good, I love to see kids graduate. I love to see them get that degree and finish it, because a lot of times they start out not thinking that it's important. Like, they doing this just to play basketball, just enough to get over basketball. And then you look up, and at the end they graduate, and it's like they're celebrating, their families are celebrating, the joy on their face, like, Coach, thanks for helping me get through. That for me is just so fulfilling. And my situation has been different because I have bounced around a lot. I don't think I have, let me think about it. I don't think I've been with the kid from the beginning to the end. App State was the one spot, but after year 4, we weren't brought back. So I haven't been at a place where I've been with a kid from the beginning to the end. But every spot that I've been, when those kids I've been able to touch and I've been with, once they have finished, they're calling, they're texting, they're checking in, I'm checking in. And even when I'm gone, we'll keep in touch. But so that also for me brings me joy, because, they, as much as these guys got going on in their life, for them to reach out to me and hey, Coach, thanks for everything you did. It was 2 years you were with me, or, maybe I called them on the back end, their last 2 years or whatever, and I saw them graduate from there. But yeah, so it's I would say that's the best part. And then also seeing guys that maximize their potential. They come in and whether they're rated high or not, they come in and they work their butt off, and you're in the gym with them, you're grinding, you're up at 7 a.m. chasing them balls around, man, and helping them get better. And then when they do achieve a level of success, whether it's all league or make a game-winning shot or 20-point game or whatever, that feeling when they come over to you, thanks, Coach, I appreciate it. Hey, we in the gym tomorrow? Absolutely right. That feeling right there is it makes it all worthwhile.
I feel you, man, and that's powerful stuff too, you said as well. This might take a little twist, but what's the strangest thing or wildest or craziest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court that you might have seen?
Ooh, outside of the basketball court, a player that I coached. In what regards? As far as like just,
I put it like this. I've seen some people talk about, kid might have like flipped out one day, threw a water bottle across campus, or might have just someone told me that they had one of the players did this streaking thing on campus, and they were streaking on the football field, or anything like that, like something like a girlfriend walked into a workout and like start just talking with the guys, like, no, I need to see him, and things of that night.
right?
That type.
I haven't had anything crazy as a coach. I know when I was a player, though. off the court. And there was a guy on our team. I'm not going to say his name.
You don't have to.
And you know how like on campus they were doing some concrete work, and you know how the concrete gets really is soft at the beginning. And so this guy puts his initials and his number in the concrete, right? And so our head coach, I don't know when it was. It was like it was one night or something. I don't know when it was. So then our head coach is like, asked to talk to the young man and say, hey, look, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to tell the truth, but somebody put your initials and your number in some cement. Wasn't me, coach. Wasn't me. Wasn't me. Okay. How are you sure? Like, who else is going to do that? I don't know, coach. Maybe a fan. Wasn't me. And he just denied it to the end, right? But he didn't know one of the other guys had already like slipped up and said. So he said, hey, if I brought such and such in here, would they tell the same story? Absolutely. I mean, just like bold face. And then he brought the guy in, and it was like, and both of them just like, oh my goodness. But that was probably the wildest thing that I've, that we've seen that I can talk about.
That's pretty wild. That is pretty wild. He's like, you said that bold face too. Like he's
Bold
hey,
face.
wasn't me.
Wasn't me. Wasn't me.
You've been in some different places. So you've been with some really good guys as well. You got a chance to get your program, and you kind of know what you want as far as you're young enough where everybody wants to get to a winning program, and they just don't want to take any job. But if you had a chance, what would be your expectations? And you've been on this side, on the administrative side as well. Like, what would your expectations be from top to the bottom if you had your own program?
I guess from the top, just full unconditional support, because when we go through this interview process, how it's done now, I mean, it's really thorough. Some people complain about the search firms or whatever. I'm either way. I get it. I get why they use search firms. I get why people don't like the search firm part of it. But whatever the case, it's a thorough process of why they're hiring you and how they get to that position of you being in front of the podium on that interview. And so, I would want complete and total trust from them from the top, where they believed in me because they went down that path and hired me. So from the top, I'd say trust. I'd say commitment, and I'd say total support. And then I think as we move down that chain, is just from my coaching staff, we want to move in unison. I expect everybody to be on the same page, and how we get to that point, we got to be open and honest with each other. We got to be able to talk to each other. We're going to disagree. And when we walk and when we're in that room, it's going to be some disagreements. But when we walk out and when we're presented in front of our team and we presented in front of administration, whatever, we're coming as a united force, and nobody is offbeat. Everybody is speaking the same language. Because, if you get a guy in your circle, in your staff who, once he leaves the meeting, he's still disgruntled about the decision that was made because it wasn't his decision, and he's voicing that to administration or to the players, it's never good. It never works out. Whether he had the best idea or not, it never works out, because now the players sniff that out. And I always say, the guys are so smart. They're always the smartest people in the room. Like they can sense when there's something wrong with their staff and there's disjointment between administration. They feel it. They sniff it out before anybody else. And so I just expect for my staff to be connected, to be one. And then, with the players, expectations for them, and when I recruit guys, I want guys that are going to compete. I want competitive players. And that's going to be my expectation for them from the beginning. And everything we do, we're going to compete in it, whether it's on the court, whether it's in practice, whether it's in academics, whether it's in extracurricular hours, when we're in community service out, we're competing in everything we do. And for me, that's number one. You got to compete.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So I ask you this, like, what's the biggest accomplishment you think you've experienced since you've been a college coach?
You know, the biggest accomplishment, I would say, um, that's a good question, you know, because there's been a lot, but I always go back to the players. I really do. And, you know, when you take a kid who, and again, no names, but, you know, early on in my career, you know, I had a kid that came from a tough background and wasn't always doing the right things. And I felt like when during the recruiting process, if we got him out of his environment and got him to campus, got him around good role models, that he could succeed. And it took a year or two for that to happen, for that to take shape. And it was a lot of battles and a lot of wars going through that. But once we gained his trust and he knew we had his best in mind, you know, he kind of, you know, gave us everything he had. And then you look up and ended up having a great playing career. But then he also graduated and went on to do something with his life. And, you know, he's married now with kids and is living a good life. But, you know, those stories right there are, for me, are much bigger than any win that you could have, you know, because you know, our job, and I think you said it earlier, we're educators. At the end of the day, we're using this game of basketball to educate and teach these young men about life and how to become a man. And so when you see that which, you know, this young man came from to where he is today, I mean, is why I do it, is why I'm in this business.
Awesome right there, man. This one throw you for a loop a little bit. I don't know if
Okay.
you are a TV guy or a movie guy, but what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
I'm gonna go back to one of my all-time favorite movies, Training Day. I'm gonna go to Training Day on this one because, you know, my man, he, you know, the cop that's he's on his, you know, first day and working to be detective. He walks in thinking one thing, and by the time the movie is over, it's like it's done took being a detective took a whole nother swing. He saw it through a whole nother lens, and uh, that's kind of how it is in this profession. You walk into that week and you're thinking, man, or even a day, I'm gonna get this done, this done, this done, boom, 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 and you just have no idea what that day holds for you. And you look up everything that you wanted to get done, you might have gotten two of those things done. And because you had to do this and put out this fire and go do this and that. And so, but yeah, so that was a great question. I'm going with Training Day on that one.
I actually love that answer. That's a great answer. You're right. You come in one way and you have no idea, twists and turns. That is 100% right. What's your favorite word or phrase that you like to use?
My favorite phrase would be, you know, you are what you practice. You are what you practice. And, you know, as a coach, you know, we have a lot of great grand ideas, and, you know, we want to do everything under them. We want a full court press. We want to, you know, be in the gaps. We want to play zone. We want to zone full court press. You know, we want to trap the post. You know, we got so many different things that we want to do, but we only have a limited amount of time to do it. And a lot of times, if you just kind of skim over it, skim over that stuff and touch it a little bit, you never become great at it. And, you know, my thought is, hey, let's lock in on a couple things. Let's be really, really good at them. And those couple things are what we're going to practice every single day. And for me, in my personal philosophy, you know, number one is transition defense. transition defense. You have to be a great transition defensive team, because of, there's so many stats out there, numbers out there that show like when teams get, deeper in the shot clock, they become so much less efficient. So it starts with transition D, man, getting back, getting that ball stopped, make them run their offense, make them run their sets. And then the other thing I really put a big emphasis on is player movement, ball movement, getting the ball moving side to side, sharing the ball. And again, there's statistical data that shows teams that share the ball on offense, they're so much advanced, so much better on defense as well. And because everybody's bought in, everybody's touching it on one end, and they feel a part of it. So now they're willing to give of themselves on that other end. And so those two areas, and then my third would be rebounding. Rebounding the basketball, winning the rebounding war or battle throughout the game, even if it's just by one rebound, winning that rebounding battle. And so those, for me, the three things that we would emphasize if I was a head coach every day in practice, every day we have drills based around those three things.
You are what you practice. I like that. I love that, man. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I would say, the best advice that I was given was be great where you are. Be great where you are, because so many times, and within that, like, stay in the moment, be present, stay in the moment, because there's so many times you look around and it's like, man, I should be here. Hey, why aren't I a head coach? Hey, why aren't I at this BCS school? Why didn't this work out for me or whatever? And, or how can I be, I'm ready to be a head coach. What can I do to be a head coach right now? And so you get so consumed with things around you that you can't control, that you forget about just being present and being great where you are. And, I was younger in my career when I got that advice. And then, as you keep getting older, you keep hearing the message. It may be a little different and it coming from different people, but you keep hearing that same message. But, just being present and be great where you are is key. And that's what I would tell any young guy that's in the business, because like, I remember being at mid-major, low major level. And I remember saying, golly, man, I want to be I should be a high major coach, man. I played in Yates. I did this, I did that. And, it takes away from the guys that you're with right now. And it takes away from you being really good. And then what you end up learning is like, the only way you're going to get to that level is you got to be great where you are. You got to win where you are. And that head coach has got to fully like endorse you, support you, because that's the first call that's going to be made once somebody bring you in and is interviewing you for that job. They calling you a head coach. And if you were too busy looking for the next job or the next situation, then you're not going to get a good recommendation. And whether that guy likes you or not, they'll be able to see through some of the words and the phrases that he uses to describe you. And it'll be enough for them to say, no, I'm good. I'm cool on that. We'll move on. So, be present and be great where you are.
Great jewels right there you just dropped. What does success mean to you?
Success to me is being the best version of myself possible. I think if you get caught up in other people's definition of success or what they think success looks like, you have a chance of losing yourself. And I just think that being the best version of me possible, always trying to learn, trying to get better, and growing in this profession, because this is a profession where everybody thinks they can do it. Everybody, like other jobs out here, like I don't pretend I can be a hedge fund guy. I don't pretend I can be a doctor or a lawyer, but everybody thinks they can coach. They think they can watch one game and now they got it figured out, And so you can't rely on other people's interpretation of success for you. And I just think for me, just, success is continuing to grow, to become a better, a better coach, a better husband, a better father, a better man of the word of God, and just continue to let him lead my life, but and just kind of falling back and letting him take control of it. But I feel like when I get to adequate levels in those areas, then that's what I consider success.
Awesome, man. Awesome answer. You've never been a self-promoter. You've always been about your business. Like, if you had to choose 3 adjectives that describe yourself, which would you choose?
For me, I would say loyal. Number one would be loyal. I try to be loyal to everybody that I come in contact with, everybody that I've worked with, almost to a fault, almost to a fault. And my wife would say that sometimes, like, you're loyal to a fault sometimes. But I would say loyalty. I would say I work hard. I work hard at my craft, at what I do. I just, that's kind of how I came up. As you look at my playing career, again, undersized guard, wasn't overly fast, shot it okay, but I was always just worked on it. I loved the game so much. I just continued to work and work and work. And then you look up and, I get A-10 offers, and then I get ACC offers, and it just keeps going. And, you get to college and, you won't play. And I end up starting some games as a freshman, and started for 3 years as a freshman, and, still hold the ACC tournament record for most minutes played 4 games in 4 days, 40 minutes, 160 minutes. So, and I wouldn't be there without just the hard work that it took to get there. And I had a lot of great help along the way, starting with my dad. He was my first coach, and he was the guy that gave me confidence and allowed me to believe in myself, because through the path, man, everybody, you're too small, you'll never make it, you're not fast enough, you're not this and that. And he was always there. Just, you're the best in the world. You ain't nobody better than you, best point guard in the country. And that right there just kind of helped me go. And then, I had great mentors with, Freddie Johnson at Greensboro Day School, who, I think the best high school basketball coach in North Carolina history. I know he's all-time winningest basketball coaching, but he was great for me. He was great. And he too gave me confidence and helped me grow. So, I'll say loyal. I would say hardworking. And then the third one to describe me, I would say competitive, just competitive. And, as I think ahead about running my own program, that'll be my, my phrase that you see all over the walls, but compete. I love to compete. I love the feeling of competing. I love being involved in a situation when there's a winner and there's a loser. I just, I've done that all my life, and every situation that I come in contact with, I try to figure out a way to make it competitive. And that would be the third thing that I would say to describe myself.
3 great ones right there. How has coaching affected your life?
The game of basketball itself has, has affected my life in a tremendous way. Like, it's allowed me to go all over the world. I played over in Europe for a couple of years. I got a chance to experience that. I've been to Europe with as a player at NC State. I've been over also as a coach on those foreign tours, and been able to bring my family with me on that as well, and they get to experience that. It's taught me so much about friendship, about hard work, about loyalty. It has it is, you know, it has molded me into who I am, you know, good and bad. You know what I mean? Just because, you know, you within that walk, you run into all kind of different things. But it's also taught me to be flexible, to be able to adjust on the fly, and to let your ego go sometimes. And you know, that's a hard one, you know, especially as a male. Sometimes, man, you walk in and you know you have this big ego, and you know, and sometimes you gotta, whether right or wrong, or whether you know is worn or not, you have to drop that ego sometimes and let it down for the greater good. And so all of those things, you know, coaching has taught me. It's taught me patience. Is you know, because I remember being in college and we're riding on the bus and coming back from a shoot around, and you know, John Gross was an assistant coach there at the time. He's at Akron now, was at Illinois, was at Ohio. And but he, you know, he and I spent a lot of time together, you know, extra workouts before games, after games, all of that stuff. He was my guy. And he told me, man, you ought to, you know, you'd be a great coach. And I said, Coach, I'm not doing it. I don't have the patience to do it. I can't, you know, I couldn't coach myself, you know, I don't have the patience. And then you look up now and I'm coaching, but it's taught me patience and understanding that, you know, people are different. Everybody's different. Come from different walks. So that don't make them right. That don't make them wrong. It's just different. You got to be able to adjust with it.
So true on that. So true. Like, and I like to end with this question a lot of times, like, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self to prepare you for as an assistant coach?
I would tell my younger self to be a complete coach. Don't just lock in on one thing. And you know, when I started out, it was all recruiting. Like I was just recruit. I wanted to be the best recruiter in North Carolina. I did. And I wasn't watching the basketball videos, how to become a better coach, how to attack a 2-1-2, how to, you know, strategically thinking about the game. I was all recruit. And, you know, as I got down the path, you know, and I think I got pretty good at it, at recruiting. You see that there's more to it. You know, you see that there's more to it because now guys start coming to you because, you know, you got a bunch of guys that you've recruited in the program. They feel comfortable around you. Now they're coming to you about, hey, coach, you know, what should I do in this situation and this, and you don't feel as strong in those areas. And so what I would have told my young self is, look, attack becoming a complete coach, attack knowing your X's and O's the same way at the same level that you attack recruiting.
That's great stuff. That's great stuff, man. I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Is there anything you want to leave with the viewers before we go?
Yeah, the thing I would say, well, first, thank you for having me on the show, man. It was great. You know, it's nothing out there like this show, you know, because I think everything else you kind of get the glitz and the glory and like you said, the you see him coaching, but you don't get to see really what the day-to-day life, especially of an assistant, because what we do is a lot different than what a head coach does. But you know, the thing I would say is, you know, to all the young guys that are looking to get into it, whether you're playing right now, whether you're in high school, whether you're, you know, a GA somewhere, what I would tell those guys is it's a great profession. It really is. And there's a lot that comes with it, which, you know, anything that's worth having is going to be a lot that comes with it. But it's a great profession. and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. You know, it ain't about you. It ain't about how much money you can make. It's about educating these young men and educating these young women to go out and be productive citizens and productive people. And, you know, the greatest gift, the most money that they can pay you is picking up that phone, calling you and saying, Coach, thank you for everything. Because, you know, I do that right now with my high school coach. And there are times where I didn't quite understand them or get it. But when I got into business for a little bit and started to recognize it, I started to appreciate him more and more. And, you know, that's a guy, I'm telling you, I talk to him 4 times a week, you know, and I love when I get a new job and I get to pack that box and I send him his gift package, you know what I mean? And to see him wearing out, because, you know, like he's been so important to my development and to my growth. And I couldn't tell you one thing he taught me on the basketball court right now. Like, he taught me a lot. I learned a lot from him. But as I look back on things right now, it aren't those things that why I love him the way I do. It's him always being there for me. It's him always keeping it real with me, you know, and him telling me the truth, even when I didn't want to hear it. I remember in high school, we were supposed to play Lewis Bullock when he was coming through in high school. And, you know, I was a sophomore, junior, I think, and he was, you know, senior. And I thought I was the man. I was like, yo, I'm that dude. I'm the best point guard in the state. Ain't nobody, you know, can't nobody deal with me. And they just played somebody. He had like 50 something. And coach told me, he said, this dude's better than you. You better be ready because this dude's better than you. I was like, oh, coach, you don't believe in me? Like, but hey, look, he kept it. He would always keep it real with me. We ended up not playing. Something happened weather-wise or whatever. I was like super motivated to play that game. I mean, I was ready to go, but something happened and didn't. But, you know, I didn't want to hear it. But he kept it real with me, and you know, I always respected him for it. So that's would be my closing words, man. It's a great profession. You know, do it for the right reason. Do it because you want to educate and help these young men. And you know, if you take care of the game, it'll take care of you. That's for sure. And in all ways, in all ways. And I'm a living example of it. I really am, because I came from, you know, and some may say I had like a jump start because I did play or whatever, but, you know, it still was hard for me to get in the business, and it's hard to stay in the business, you know? And so, yeah, you just have to, you know, do it for the right reasons.
Well, look, man, thanks for dropping that knowledge again. And then thank you for those kind words, man. And Freddie Johnson is a legend. Trust me, I've been in that gym plenty of times, and Lewis Bullock was a bad boy at Laurel Baptist. So I know you're talking about.
I saw the Michigan boy, he was bad.
But nah, thank you viewers for watching another great show, and stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.